from the Melbourne Recital Centre in Melbourne's South Bank. My name is Michelle Wood and I'm a cellist with MSO. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land we're gathered on this evening, the people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging. Now, as you have heard, Melbourne is going into lockdown this evening, so we're thrilled to be able to bring tonight's event a little bit early and online. Thank you to our presenting partner TarraWarra Estate for their support of these events, and to the City of Melbourne, Crown and Packer Foundations and the National Foundation for the Australia-China Relations for their support of this masterclass. Now tonight we're lucky to be able to present a cello masterclass from world-renowned cellist and chamber musician and Associate Professor at Melbourne Conservatorium of Music, Li-Wei Qin. Li-Wei, do you want to come and join me? Now, Li-Wei, you're going to be working with two cello students from the Melbourne Conservatorium of Music, Yuanzhi Liu and Vicky Deng. Now, can you tell our audience at home a little bit about the masterclass format and why it's beneficial for these students?
Hi, Michelle. Hi. Well, first of all, it's a real privilege for me to be associated with MSO and come and do a class. Usually it's just a concerto I do with MSO, but actually to share the teaching, some of the teaching philosophy, and also, I suppose, performing experiences with the next generation of cellists is a real honor. I think Masterclass is actually a very, for me, a peculiar situation where, because we only have a very short amount of time, and we're dealing with, great masterworks like Bach or Brahms and Beethoven. So often, I think it's very important for the educator to deliver one or two pointers for the student to take away, because ultimately, what's half an hour when the journey is a marathon. So I like to do that today, and then see. I'm sure the young cellists are going to be doing fantastic job on their pieces, and I'll be there working with them and sharing the journey with them.
That'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
And can you tell us what is the main difference between the masterclass format and teaching, and the specific student-teacher relationship? Is there something specific that you would say is the biggest difference?
Well, today, because of lockdown, we don't have the audience here. But if there were audience here, I think I really wanted to have the audience involved, where I could, I suppose, encourage the students to communicate further with the audience. Because, the masterclass is different to if I was teaching a student in a room. We have this live interaction between the performer and the audience.
Exactly right.
So let's use that.
Yep.
Let's encourage that communication, that type of sharing. Yeah.
Well, I look forward to being at least one of the small audience members today. So anyway, let's get started. So first we'll hear from Yuanzhi Liu, who, as we just heard, will be presenting Bach Cello Suite No. 3, and it's the Prelude. So looking forward to hearing it.
Yes. Fantastic playing, really, really great playing. I mean, it's unfortunate we don't have audience here, otherwise they would have, all the 70 people would be thrilled to hear this, your interpretation of Bach. Really, I think it's so musical, and you play with a lot of flair. You understand the performance practice of Bach, obviously, and also very attractive playing. I have a cello festival in China, and before COVID we have it every year, and I always have a Q&A with some of the audience. And I was asked a question recently, 2 years ago. A parent asked me, why is my daughter not as musical as my neighbor's daughter? And she wanted to know, what is musical? Like when you say this kid is very musical, the other kid is not so musical. What do you think is the elements that brings out our understanding of this person being musical? What do you think?
Like the overall flow of the piece. Like you wouldn't, like when you listen to it, you wouldn't think, oh, he stopped here. Like it keeps on going and going.
That's right. Yeah. So there has to be your own interpretation of the piece. Yeah. But I think, we talk about basically music. There's the basics, foundations. You have your harmony. Then you have your rhythms. Things like that. I think a musical person, which you are, you have to demonstrate. First of all, you have to feel it. You have to feel for example, the section of next one. So things like that. There are subtle harmonical changes that I think, as a performer, first of all, I think you feel it, but how do you convey that feeling, that chemical reaction inside your body to the audience? I think sometimes I feel everything, it just flows a little bit too quickly, that as a cellist, I probably understand everything you do. Yeah. But as a non-cellist, if we have 70 people here, my guess, there are probably only going to be 7 cellists, if that, in these 70 people. Yeah. But how do you tell the musical story that they also understand? I hear that, why not, for example, we have 2 different voices, and feel the harmonical changes. Yeah. Can we try something, just for this section? Yeah. You play the bottom, I play the top, and then continue that way, okay? Yeah. So you need to actually, I know we don't have the opportunity to play 2 people into this section, but when you're playing by yourself, the story can be told like that. The magic of Bach is, we're going to be hearing 2 different Bachs. The magic of Bach is you're going to hear, 11 people, 100 people with 100 different, interpretations. But I think most importantly, you have to find something that the way that you tell the story, that it's convincing for you, and also that the audience understand. Yeah. That's first thing. Second thing I like to talk, also just to point out a little bit, as I said, in the interview, I don't want to talk about too many things. But 2 things, I promise no more. Second thing is, we have to look at the overall architecture structure of the piece. Where do you think is the climax? I mean, obviously, there has to be a climax. Yeah. Where's the climax for you?
The G pedal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So how do you demonstrate a climax? What's the most conventional way of demonstrating a climax?
It's just higher dynamic.
Yeah. I didn't feel that. Not enough.
Yeah, no.
And also the width of your music is suppose we can combine the two things we said.
Yeah.
So first of all, be sensitive to all these different musical changes, because obviously nobody could call Bach to say, what do you want there? But we are all detectives. We have all this evidence. And then you're absolutely right, the climax. So let's feel the weight of that, or the width of that, or the body of that.
Yeah.
So things like that. So yeah, these are basically the two things. So why don't we go from the beginning and let's really feel something. C major. Beautiful. First phrase. Where does the first phrase finish? Which note? I'll play. You tell me when to stop. Here, right?
Yeah.
Why is it the end of your phrase is heavier than the? I hear. I think probably we can try. Yeah, see, it's more symmetrical that way. Yeah? Opening great, let's just go from here. Beautiful. So, you did such a wonderful job. It's so beautiful. You have to give me the fingering later. What do you want the audience to hear? Again, I think perhaps you could just bring out that little difference a little bit more. Rather than think, oranges, and banana. But think about, green, oranges, and then orange, in different color. So the size has to be the same, because otherwise you're interfering with the pulse of music. But try that, yeah. Okay, last question. Is it going downwards or is it going upwards? The whole
downwards.
Then perhaps the first phrase. Again, we're only working with logics here. So perhaps the first phrase needs to be at a certain height.
Yeah.
So there then you have the tour to come down.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Let's do one more time. Dom dee do de dee. Great. Which notes do you want to emphasize?
The bass.
Can I persuade you to just perhaps try? I'll tell you what. Now the reverse.
Yeah.
Because it's moving. The bass is actually not moving so much.
Yeah.
Yes, much better. That's already so much better. The bottom voice, could you actually energize it from the bottom first? Do da do di do da do di da, do da do di da 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 da, de di de do de di de do di, da di da 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 di da da da, di da di da di da di da di.
Yeah.
Because we have to decide who's the leader here. There are two different voices. I think because do da da di, just mathematically, there are more notes bottom. So
Yeah.
we have more to work with. So obviously that's easier to go from bottom. So now they're united.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do da da di. Not too soft yet. Okay, let me just give you an idea. Look, again, there's no right and wrong. When I'm teaching my students at the National University in Singapore, whenever we're talking about Bach, it's often, just discussing ideas. Because again, who's to say I'm right or, who's wrong? But I think here we always have to, in all music, we have to know what is the highlight. There are sections that, in all music, there are places that it's the cantabile, that's the tranquility and all that beautiful stuff, Deutsche. There are moments that it's in Shostakovich concerto, it's the technique, virtuosity. There are sometimes the rhythm, sometimes it's the harmony. What do you think is here? What is the high point? What do you want the audience to feel here?
The change of key and emotions.
Oh, you got the change bit. And I want you to feel that the pulse is different.
Yeah.
You think about that. He could have easily written... It's not bad.
Yeah, of course. It's
But this is better.
Yeah.
So we have come back, off, straight on, off again. Now, everything's on the spot. Be inventive to find out what is possible. So make us feel that the offbeat sounds like the downbeat. And then correct yourself. Try that.
Yeah.
And then also with the harmonical, intentions, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you create, obviously, you ask any student what venues would the Bach cello suite to be best suited. Most people say chapels or church, We are in a beautiful space here, but there's even better space there. You need to utilize that.
Yeah.
I think you could just do a little bit more to make the cello really resonate. Because sometimes I think the speed overtook everything. You're not letting the cello to speak, almost make us uncomfortable because on this pedal G. Then that's so comfortable. So uncomfortable probably is not the best lack of better term, but like organ, really with everything down. Yeah, that's right. Could you reduce the temperature here? Again, using the harmonical sensitivity, because we've had this climax. Now you can be a little bit more sensitive now. Yeah, we can't be a butcher all the way through this, but sometimes it's nice to have a butcher in there somewhere. So. Yeah. I went to the gallery this lunchtime, Impressionism. This is a little bit like here. Go from a very dark, very clear shaped Rembrandt, let's say, going to Monet. Water lilies, so Renoir, Monet. Then you start to build. Okay? Yeah. So let's just really try different shades of color inside. Go from da da dee da 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 dee da. More air. Less attack. Cold. And then turn the corner here. C major. Before this is going to be very boring if somebody's sitting here. I just talk a little bit about 20 seconds about your left hand. Sometimes I hear it's very high. I think you need to work more with this, less with this. It's a little too jumpy, okay? Yeah. But I'm aware that we are getting closer to 8 o'clock lockdown. One last thing, the rest, could you also have a pulse? Da-dam, ba-dam. Yeah. Ba-bam. It doesn't have to be metronomical, but it has to have a certain pulse. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Brilliant. Wonderful to hear you. I hope I hear you again sometimes. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. That was, honestly, it was an absolutely beautiful performance, and thank you so much for joining us today. Now, we have another student. So, in fact, we have one more. It's Vicky Deng, and we've got some more Bach for the day. And just as they're actually fetching her, I'll just ask you, Li-Wei. Yeah. I mean, Bach is one of those things that as a cellist, you spend your entire career basically rediscovering again. And me just sitting there with that prelude, it was exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do you find the same thing?
Absolutely. It's a lifetime journey. It's a lifelong journey. And every year it's different. Every year sounds different.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No,
so-
I would agree. Now, Vicky, please come and join us. We've got Vicky basically performing another prelude from the Bach suites, suite number 4. So I'll let you get set up and you can get started.
Okay. I'll leave the cello there. Bravo, very nice, very nice. The future of us Melbourne cello world is very bright, I think. Yours sound great. And you've learned this piece, you've had this piece for a while. I see a lot of markings. It's great. I write a lot on music too. Okay, so again, beautiful playing, and it's like a mini Bach festival here. We have different approaches and different ideas, but nevertheless, beautiful music. And I especially like the fact that you shape a lot of the phrases in a very elegant way. Let me give you some suggestions for playing Bach. Again, just suggestions. What do you think is the most difficult thing in playing Bach? Like performing Bach, let's say.
I think like just making it interesting and just conveying like the characters.
All right, okay, now you're still talking the high road. You're taking the high road, it's very abstract. Can I give you my real feeling of playing Bach?
Yeah.
Memory. It's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
I just played the 4th and 5th suite and 1st suite in one night a few months ago. And it's so hard work, because the notes, in this case, are all quavers. Basically, some semi-quavers, but basically all quavers. How do we memorize them? That's a very important question because, obviously Bach is best played memorized. I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing with music, you should. But I think to know that sometimes memorizing Bach suites is the hardest thing actually helps us in learning Bach suites. Why? Because even when you learn them, learning the Bach suite, I think it's a very good idea to start categorize the phrases or the often they are in 4 bars or 8 bars, these patterns. I think you can work them out.
Yeah.
Obviously, the beginning is pretty obvious, but for example, from that's 4 bars. Then after that, we have next section. So all of these little patterns, I think it's going to help us. And I think also for helping the audience to understand what we try to say. And it's easier for them to, I think for most people listening to music, if they can foresee what's coming up, there's a sense of closeness when they listen to it. It actually helps them to understand what you try to say. So that's one thing. I think we can just talk about that a little bit in detail of how you phrase it. Like your classmate, your schoolmate before, I talk about 3 things today. Okay, we talked about 3 things. Second thing, I think in all music, we try to imitate a singer. Often in Bach's case too, but more so with romantic music. I want you to really think about the time you take between the first and second notes. For me, they are a little too similar. Where I stopped all of these, and often, more often than not, if you have quite a big range, you need to take more time, naturally. For example, that bar, really, bar 31, really deserves us to expand because it's so far that if you, as a singer, if you sing this, dum, ba, da, 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 and it helps with the next 2 bars because it's actually a 2-bar phrase. So I'm combining what I'm trying to say, the first pointer and the second pointer. So you need to recognize what the pattern is and then also use the first 2 notes to help you generate the clear cuts. Third thing, before we go on, third thing is, especially in this suite, there are a lot of ornaments. Where are the ornaments, do you think?
I think in the
all the dark notes, basically.
Yeah.
And they were beautifully played, but I just wonder if we could actually take us even further out, so it really should sound like improvisation. Mm-hmm. It still sounds a little bit, you practice a lot, so it sounds like, I want to show you I've practiced a lot, and I really know this piece quite well. A sense of improvisation, even when you play, or even the all of these notes, I think they sound a little bit too much like the main body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the columns are important, but these are the decorative elements that we need to make them sound, or even hear this. Even when you're getting louder, it has to be different to this. Different. Again, decoration. Okay, three things. So in the introduction, I only say two things in Masterclass, but because you play so well, and I really wanted to help you, or at least suggest ideas. So three things. So let's go from beginning. Just think about the beginning is very simple. We have how many bars per verse? Let's go from 8 bars, basically, right? So can you actually try experiment with the first and second notes to hear the difference in tension? No, let's go. Just so I want you to hear the difference between the. Go on. So obviously the fourth pattern, it has to be, or it doesn't have to be, but it feels it's a little bit more and less energizer, and it's also a little closer in the interval. So I suggest maybe the beginning. Appreciate the distance. A little more, less. Even less. Least. Then you start to tell the story. As you get wider, again, the wider. Okay, let's deal with the first 8 bars first. Yeah, this is not in the key, so can we just highlight a little bit of that little taste? But much better before that. let's go from a... So often, it's a little bit like your schoolmate before. I think, we can focus, obviously, at a certain level when you start to play the instrument, when you're younger, before your tertiary level, we're basically dealing with loud, soft, fast, and slow. Basically, right? But now, at your level, both of you, I think it's about listening and try to discover width. Is it narrow or is it wide? Sometimes it doesn't even have to be a lot of dynamical changes. That's how you make your music more three-dimensional. Otherwise, it's just very flat. So, for example, here, you did great. You do close. A little wider. I'm not, playing much louder, but you already feel this third phrase has more body, right? So, this one. Okay, let's try one more time. From the ding, do, di, 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 do, di, ba, nine. Yeah, I think the first two notes is too wide. Dun, dun, da, di, dum, ba, 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 ba. Now the new pattern. Now we even more. That's one phrase, second phrase. Yeah, again, could you experiment with the distance between the do? Where's it? Do, 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 do. Sorry. From here, for example. You hear the difference?
Yeah.
I think it just that brings that little bit of ambiguity, This wide. Let's go from here. Dum, dum, dum. Same thing when it goes reverse also. Again, you have to just work on a little bit of the distance timing. I think do, da, da, that doesn't sound very natural for me. This so set it up for this. So what I'm trying to, for both students really, I'm trying to do is try to make whatever you feel a little bit more understandable to the audience. So sometimes you need to accumulate an idea. So by the time we get to the point, you feel, oh, I've been doing this same thing 3-4 times already, and then therefore this makes sense. If it's too sudden, dom da 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 ding ba da 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 ding ba da da, that F sharp, you're not going to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So dom da 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 dum. Here. And then daydream. Daydream. You know, recently I've been talking to somebody, I was teaching somebody a Schumann Fantasstück. What do you think is this is like fantasy here? But you know, fantasy is not fantasy once you can hold on to it. It's no longer fantasy, it becomes reality. So you need to have that hope. But you can't really, I don't think you should be... it should always be in the air. You're pushing, but you try to catch it, but you can never catch it. So that kind of feeling. So if you ever start to reduce your bow speed and we get to the territory of this type of sound, it takes away that dreamlike. That's okay, it's okay. You know, of course you go home and slow practice it, but the idea is so that you find the balance between your bow speed and the music speed. There's always that balance. If the music becomes too slow and then your bow becomes too fast, you don't have enough bow. And the other way around, it doesn't work because then you have no contact. So it's about... Yeah? Okay, one more time and then we go on. Go on. I mean, you've written something there. What does it say?
A lot of things.
Week 1, week 2, week 3. You know, because this 4 bars for me is very interesting, because you're in a very fantasy land. You know, we go back to ornaments again. Yeah. So perhaps these 4 bars, we can look at it as a memory of what the first page has been, rather than actually really taking us back, all the way back. So back too fast. All the way till here. That's the real McCoy. Can we try that one more time? Just so that we know where we are, environmentally speaking. So try middle of the bow, maybe. reality kicks in. Come back. Okay, on that note, the reality is we are going to a lockdown soon. So, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Bravo, thank you so much to both of you, and sadly we're obviously going to have to wrap things up. But look, I just wanted to say thank you to both students, and thank you to our Ears Wide Open presenting partner TarraWarra Estate for their support of Ears Wide Open, and to the City of Melbourne, Crown Packer and the National Foundation for the Australia-China Relations for the support of this masterclass. And of course, an enormous thank you to Li-Wei Qin for joining us tonight, and to Vicky and Yuanja for their beautiful playing. Seriously, guys, I'm so inspired. And thanks to all of you for joining us from home. It's great to have you with us, and I think times like these remind us of how powerful music can be in bringing people together, even digitally. So wherever you are, stay safe, and we will see you soon.
Okay.